Donald Trump has spent years trying to distance himself from the Jeffrey Epstein controversy. But those efforts keep collapsing. First came the public attempts to downplay the story, then came denials and shifting explanations that were repeatedly contradicted by the record. And now, as he embarks on a state visit to the UK, those unresolved questions have followed him overseas and created a major political headache. We'll break down how this visit has backfired and why senior figures on both sides of the aisle are weighing in. Today's developments include new comments from Representative Adam Schiff and controversial moves by officials close to the administration that have only intensified scrutiny. But before we dive into the details, if you find this reporting useful, please leave a like and, if you haven't already, subscribe. Your support helps us keep doing this work. Now let's start with the latest on how the Epstein controversy is being reframed and why it's creating problems for the White House right now.
Clearly, I struck a nerve. I think he realized just how absurd the idea is that, Todd Blanche, the president's former criminal defense lawyer, our current deputy attorney general, meets with this sex offender, the most important witness in the Jeffrey Epstein case, and then is suddenly transferred to a minimum security prison not suitable for a sex offender like her, and we're supposed to believe the administration had nothing to do with that. It's preposterous. So I think it was a combination of realizing that what he said was just stupid and not credible, but also he's at risk of losing his job. And he thinks by attacking me, by attacking Cory Booker, by attacking Democrats, maybe he can salvage his job. But, my feeling is, look, if he continues to be so incompetent, if he continues to say in a high-profile, horrible assassination case that the subject is in custody when the shooter is not in custody, he continues to embarrass the FBI and the president, he's not going to last long in that job, no matter how much he attacks me or anyone else.
I want to ask about an exchange you had about the Epstein case, and specifically what the evidence that the FBI has or DOJ has indicates about the sort of scope of people that were associated with Epstein, particularly the most egregious crimes he committed. Take a listen.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
Is it your testimony today that in all the Epstein files, that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked no one to anyone but himself? Is that your testimony, Mr.
I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic anyone else.
You're telling the American people today that the Epstein list is a single name and it's Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we're to believe?
That's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying.
Now, I will admit to being confused because I watched a bunch of the hearing. I was looking back over the transcripts. He seemed to answer that to Senator Kennedy. I mean, again, I'm not saying I don't know the truth here, to be honest. I don't necessarily believe that Kash Patel is a credible messenger, but maybe that is the case. But he seemed to answer yes to Senator Kennedy and not to you, and then get mad at you and said the same. So do you understand what his testimony was today?
His testimony was, it was hard to understand because it was so far-fetched, that Jeffrey Epstein only trafficked women to himself, not to anyone else. Basically, the client list, this celebrated Epstein list, only has one name on it, and it's Jeffrey Epstein. That was the import of his testimony. I was struck by it. I think Senator Kennedy and others were struck by it. Of course, there's no one who's, I think, going to be more struck by it than the victims of Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking. But apparently Kash Patel and the FBI now want the American people and Trump's own base to believe, hey, there's only one name on Epstein's list, and that's Jeffrey Epstein. I also asked him about Maxwell in that interview with Todd Blanche, says that there are Trump cabinet members who are associated with Epstein, and Blanche doesn't even bother to ask who they are. So I asked him, who are they? And he refused to answer.
I would not be surprised to see Donald Trump over the next 48 hours, or maybe when he gets back from a visit, which you will see has already gone so poorly, to maybe throw Kash Patel's head on the chopping block, not only because he is one of the most incompetent, I don't want to say most, Because we still have Pete Hegseth around Tulsi Gabbard, we can never forget about RFK Jr. All of these dumbasses in the administration somehow pale in comparison to the last week of idiocy from Kash Patel. It is just disgusting to see the actions from this administration. People who want to force us to care about Charlie Kirk but can't care enough to actually do their jobs. It's idiotic. It is ridiculous. It is embarrassing, but not as embarrassing as what just happened to Donald Trump in the UK. He didn't like it a lot. He was rushed over there to avoid Epstein. I'm sure he's going to be rushed away from this too. Brits welcome Trump with Epstein video on his royal lodging. Jeffrey Epstein's shadow has followed Donald Trump to his royal lodging across the pond just as the president arrived for his state visit to the UK. Protesters projected massive images of Trump alongside Jeffrey Epstein on the walls of Windsor Castle. It comes just hours after Trump boasted about being invited to stay at what he called the ultimate castle. A reel including several infamous images of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, as well as a copy of the load birthday letter Trump allegedly sent the disgraced financier, were projected by protesters reportedly led by the group led by donkeys. Thames Valley Police arrested 4 people in connection with the stunt on suspicion of malice communications. And CNN reported the Trump-Epstein projection follows similar stunts from the previous day when protesters unfurled a huge banner of the pair over the long walk at Windsor Castle. The Daily Beast has reached out to the White House for comment on the projection and the other protests surrounding the president's visit. Roughly 70 protesters organized by the Stop Trump Coalition gathered outside Windsor Castle to demonstrate against Trump earlier on Tuesday. The Guardian reported they chanted Trump out and say it loud, say it clear, Donald Trump not welcome here. According to the outlet, Trump is making history as the first U.S. president to get a second state visit to the UK. But he has seemed to be more focused on his lodging, portraying his stay at the castle on Wednesday as historic. He is spending the first night at Winfield House, the U.S. ambassador's official residence in London, before heading to Windsor Castle on Wednesday. This is exactly the moment we've needed. I've had a rough day, but watching this unfold put a real smile on my face. Imagining Trump, excited for his state visit, only to have it disrupted as questions about Epstein explode around him. He flew out just as officials close to him were getting grilled in Congress, and now he has to face this controversy again. I'm sure it's frustrating him, but this goes beyond petty satisfaction. What matters more is what it represents. Peaceful protest and people exercising their First Amendment rights. This administration claims to care about free speech. That was supposedly Charlie Kirk's signature cause, but the reality is different. Charlie Kirk wasn't defending civil liberties. He built a career attacking and profiting from the denigration of others. He wasn't a free speech martyr, and yet this White House is cracking down on the very rights it claims to protect. People have faced severe consequences for simply reposting things Kirk said, losing jobs, or being punished for sharing his own words. If a person's recorded statements are so toxic that reproducing them becomes grounds for dismissal, that tells you everything you need to know. We cannot let this story be rewritten or sanitized. We must speak louder and push back harder, no matter how much this administration tries to suppress dissent. Voices like Jasmine Crockett's have been bold on this issue, and we need more of that courage right now.
I'm very grateful to have you on the show here today. And I want to start by just asking you to respond to the conversation we've been having here on this set. It's the conversation the country has been having. You heard what the Attorney General said earlier today about potentially using the Department of Justice to try and go after certain groups. Do you think that the way that she is approaching this hate speech is appropriate?
No, absolutely not. I don't think that that's any surprise of anyone that I would disagree with this current attorney general. You know, it is sad that it seems like there are people on the right specifically that are using Mr. Kirk's tragic death to go ahead and move forward with their tragic agenda. If you believe that you swore an oath to the Constitution, then maybe you should read it. Maybe you should start reading some case law. Maybe you should understand that the First Amendment is not about speech that you like. It is about protecting speech. And to be clear, we do have laws that are on the books because not every single thing that you say is necessarily protected. In most states, they have terroristic threat laws that are on the books because you can't just go out there and threaten somebody or do things that seemingly look like threats and you have the ability to carry them out and you can be prosecuted. If there's anything that this DOJ and this FBI director need to be doing, they need to be surveilling online to figure out who the potential real threats are. As we know, this young man who is alleged to have shot Mr. Kirk, he was a gamer. He was doing a lot online. In fact, he confessed online, and the FBI who was looking for him still couldn't find him. That tells you how adequate they are at their jobs right now. And I don't put this on the men and women that are currently serving. I put this at the leadership that has decided to divert at least 20% of the FBI resources to just pet projects of this president. In addition to that, we know that the shooter that was in Colorado, where children were shot on the same day as Mr. Kirk, yet no one wants to talk about it, was also posting some very concerning things online to the extent that the FBI had been alarmed about his activity, and ultimately he carried it out. The Minnesota shooter was posting online for 30 days, and people saw what he was doing, and then he did it. Maybe we should focus on policing the speech that is more than just speech, but it is leading to actual deaths instead of just looking at what hurts the feelings of conservatives.
We need to raise our voices right now, louder than ever. And I'm grateful that Congresswoman Crockett is helping lead that charge. On this show, we're going to continue following her example and pushing back every single day. If you want to support that work, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you've stayed with us until the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.